So let me welcome you all to this lecture. In this I am going to discuss how to find infimum and supremum of a set. I will just recall that concept once again because I have already taken several separate lectures on this topic. So question is that we will show that suppose any set say A is equal to 1 by n, where n belongs to natural number is given. Now how to find infimum and supremum of this set? So let me recall that according to definition of infimum, greatest lower bound, I mean first we need to find all the lower bounds, and from the collection of all lower bound the greatest one is called as infimum. So what we will do, we will try to find out the infimum, all lower bounds for this set, and from that I will choose the greatest one. And similarly for supremum, we need to find all upper bounds, and from the upper bounds, from the collection of all upper bounds, the least one is called as supremum. So let me write this one as if I put n equal to 1 here, then A can be written as 1. For n equal to 2, the elements will be 1 by 2. For n equal to 3, the next element is 1 by 3, and so on. So this is the set given. There is a difference between notation of set and sequence. For a sequence, we denote by this an for n greater than equal to 1, where n belongs to n. So this is the notation basically used for sequence, but here I am trying to find infimum of this set. So to find the infimum of this set, let me denote here. If we denote here if I denote 0 on this number line, and suppose 1 is there and half is here, then obviously 1 by 3 will be left to 1 by 2, and similarly 1 by 4, and so on and so on. So all the numbers, one can see that all the numbers including 0 and all the numbers less than 0 is a lower bound for this set. So let me write first that set of all lower bounds for this set is collection of all those x from all those real numbers such that x is less than equal to 0. So one important question is that why not any number greater than 0 is its lower bound? Someone may argue that any number right to 0 and close to 0 may be an upper bound. So we will discard it, that any number greater than 0 will not be its lower bound using Archimedean property of real number, that I will explain. So now suppose if this is the set of all lower bounds, then obviously the greatest one is here 0. So I can say that its upper greatest lower bound, that is greatest lower bound of this set denoted by A is 0. Greatest lower bound of this set is 0. Now similarly, what will be set of all upper bounds? Set of all upper bounds. So if you can see from here that set of all upper bounds will be number greater than equal to 1, including 1. So I can write that set of all upper bounds is collection of all real numbers such that x is greater than equal to 1. Now 1 is upper bound. 1 and all numbers greater than 1 is an upper bound for this set. So one can see from here that the least among all these upper bounds, is the 1. So its supremum, greatest lower bound of A or infimum of A is 0. Similarly, among all these lower bound, the least one is, so I can say that the least upper bound of the set A is 1, which is also called as supremum of the set A. Supremum of the set A. Now important question is here, how to verify, how to show that any number greater than 0 is not its lower bound, because it looks that a number close to 0, because actually 0 is not present in this set. So any number close to 0 from right seems that it may be a lower bound for this set. It may be lower bound from this set, but I am going to show you using Archimedean property of real numbers that any number strictly greater than 0, however small, can never be an upper bound for this set. So for that, let me rub this one. Now suppose any number epsilon, suppose let epsilon greater than 0. One can take any notation. Here epsilon is a real number, strictly greater than 0. You can take it as delta, one can take it as h, or denote it by any other notation, but for convenience I have taken it as epsilon greater than 0. So suppose any number, just write to 0, and strictly greater than 0 is a lower bound. So let epsilon greater than 0 be a lower bound of this set, be a lower bound of the set A, then by Archimedean property of real number, there always exists some n naught belonging to a set of natural numbers such that 1 by n is less than epsilon. For every n greater than equal to this fixed n naught. One can always find at least one n naught as natural number such that for all n greater than equal to this n naught, 1 by n will be less than epsilon. So actually this already I have explained, but let me recall it once again. So from Archimedean property of R, what will happen that whenever any epsilon greater than 0, if we claim that this one is a lower bound, then what will happen in between 0 and 1 by n? In between 0 and 1 by n, one can always get, one will always get some in fact infinite members, because how much choice we have for n? Except some finite n naught, one can see that 1 by n type members are the members of this set. So however small you choose, but epsilon should be strictly greater than 0, one can always have elements of the type 1 by n lying in between 0 and epsilon. So this shows that epsilon can never be its lower bound. Why? Because if any epsilon greater than 0 is its lower bound, then obviously it has to be less than every member of this set. But what is happening here? That in between 0 and epsilon, whatever epsilon we choose, in between 0 and epsilon, we always have elements of the type 1 by n which lies in between 0 to epsilon. So this shows that any number greater than 0 can never be, any number strictly greater than 0 can never be an upper bound for this set, and this is the reason that a set of all lower bounds will be 0 or any all numbers less than equal to 0. And among all those, the largest one, the greatest one is, the greatest among all lower bound is called as infimum. So this is the reason to show that how infimum of 1 by n is 0. Now next part. So overall this is to just show that any epsilon greater than 0 can never be its lower bound. So let me write here, that is any epsilon greater than 0 cannot be its lower bound, can never be its lower bound. So, and supremum of this set is 1. So remember that for existence of infimum and supremum, set should be bounded. If it is bounded above, then only we can talk of existence of supremum, and if it is bounded below, then only we can talk of existence of infimum. If set is not bounded above, then we will never talk of the existence of supremum, because among all upper bound, the least one is called as supremum, and similarly among lower bound, the greatest one is called as infimum. So let me explain this concept by some other examples. So let me take another example to explain the concept of infimum and supremum. Suppose find infimum and supremum. question is find infimum and supremum of a set given by B is equal to open interval 2 3 union 4 5. So let me draw it on number line. One can see that suppose this one is 2, this one is 3 and a 4 and this one is 5. So this reason we need to find infimum and supremum of this set. So clearly this set is bounded. One can see that all numbers lying starting from 5 and above are its upper bound, and all real numbers starting from 2 and lesser than 2 is its lower bound. So let me write set of all upper bounds of the set B. So set of all upper bounds for the set B is given by collection of all real numbers such that x is greater than equal to 5. Similarly, set of all lower bounds will be all those numbers such that x is less than equal to 2. So from this set of all upper bounds, the least one is called as supremum. So it is clear from here that supremum will be 5. This implies that supremum of set B, supremum, or one can say that the least upper bound will be 5, and similarly this implies that the greatest lower bound of this set B, supremum of the set, supremum means supremum of this set. So in short we are writing this one. So greatest lower bound of this set B is equal to infimum of the set B is equal to 2. So this one is another example to explain you how to find infimum and supremum. So the key idea is that one need to for supremum one need to first write all its upper bounds, and from that upper bound just choose the least one, and for this from set of all lower bounds the greatest one is called as its infimum. Now let me take another example to explain how to show that the next example is very interesting example. Let me write it first. So example third, question is consider this set say C is equal to 3 by 2 raised to the power n such that n belongs to set of natural number. Now question is this set bounded, and if it is bounded find its infimum and supremum. Find infimum and supremum of this set. Find infimum and supremum. So clear. So let me write the elements, the members of this set C. So for n is equal to 1, it will be 3 by 2. For n equal to 2, 3 by 2 square, 3 by 2 cube, and so on. So if you plot it on number line, then 3 by suppose here is we have 0. Here we have 1. 3 by 2 will be some right to this one 1. Then 3 by 2 square, 3 by 2 square, 3 by 4 it will be less than 1, and similarly 3 by 2 cube and 3 by 2 cube and on, and one can see that it is approaching to 0. So how to find its infimum and supremum? So again let us write its lower bound, all its lower bound and upper bound. So let me write its lower bound. So one can see that set of all upper bounds for this set is collection of all those real numbers such that x is greater than equal to 3 by 2. Obviously 3 by 2 square will be less than 3 by 2 as its denominator starts increasing. So this number will be lesser than this one. So among all these the largest one is 3 by 2. So all real numbers including 3 by 2 and right to 3 by 2 will be its upper bound. So let me write. So this is the reason why we claimed here that set of all upper bounds will be all those real numbers starting from 3 by 2 and right to 3 by 2. So all these are its lower bounds. Similarly, set of lower bounds will be all those x from R such that x is less than equal to 0. Again here the same logic, that why not any number greater than 0 is its lower bound. So one can again argue from this Archimedean property of real numbers that any number is strictly greater than 0, however close to 0, can never be its lower bound. So let me write. So if this is the collection of its lower bound and upper bound, then from this it is very clear that the greatest lower bound or infimum of this set C is 0, will be 0, and least upper bound or supremum of this set C is 3 by 2. Now how to show that any number greater than 0 will never be its lower bound? So again, using the Archimedean property of R, let me write it, that we know that whenever two positive real numbers A and B are given to us, then there always exists n such that n times A is greater than B. One can always find n belonging to n natural number such that n times A is greater than B. So so if n is a natural number, so let me replace this n by 3, this 3 by 2. So obviously, if let me replace n by 2 to the power n. So what will happen, that 2 to the power n is again a natural number, because n is a natural number, so 2 raised to the power n is again a natural number. Let me replace this A by epsilon. Epsilon is greater than 0, and B 3. So from here I can say that 3 by 2 raised to the power n is less than epsilon. I mean, whatever epsilon greater than 0 is given to us, one can always find some n naught belonging to n, such that after that n naught, I mean for every n greater than equal to n naught, 3 by 2 raised to the power n is less than epsilon. So this one can always claim from Archimedean property of real number. So from what I want to show from here, that this implies that 0 is less than epsilon is 0 is less than 3 by 2 raised to the power n is less than epsilon. Now whatever epsilon, if this epsilon is a lower bound, if any epsilon greater than 0 is a lower bound for this set, then what will happen, that one can always find the members of the type 3 by 2 to the power n from this set which lies in between 0 and epsilon. And if epsilon is lower bound, then again same, this epsilon should be less than equal to every member of this set, but this is not happening here. So any epsilon greater than 0 will never be its upper bound, will never be its lower bound. So this is the reason why we are claiming that set of all lower bound start from 0 and will be always less than equal to 0. And among all these lower bound, the largest one is called as infimum. So you can pause this video and note it. In fact, one can also let me recall this Archimedean property of real number once again. In my earlier lecture, I have given several examples. This one is a very important property, and I will use this. Why I am focusing on this concept, because this will be used at several places. Even in the concept of limit point, that limit point of this 1 by n is 0. There again we will use all these things. So one can also let me recall first statement of this Archimedean corollary of Archimedean property of real numbers, which we will use at several places. In fact, here one can also use it by this one. Suppose any epsilon, see, 1 by 2 to the power n, 1 by 2 to the power n will be always less than 1 by n, and whatever epsilon is greater than 0 given to us, one can always find some n naught belonging to n, such that 1 by n is less than epsilon for every n greater than equal to n naught, and 1 by 2 to the power n is less than 1 by n. So I can say that 1 by 2 raised to the power n is less than epsilon. one can always find some n, this fix n naught, such that after for all n greater than equal naught, 1 by 2 to the power n will be less than epsilon, because 1 by n is less than epsilon. Okay, and now let me multiply to make it of this type. Let me multiply on both sides by 3. So 3 by 2 raised to the power n will be less than 3 epsilon, and let me call this 3 epsilon by epsilon dash. So I can rewrite this statement as follows, that for every epsilon dash greater than 0, there exists n naught belonging to n, such that for all n greater than equal to n naught, 3 by 2 to the power n will be less than epsilon dash. So in between 0 to epsilon dash, there always lies a members of the type 3 by 2 raised to the power n, and this shows you that any epsilon dash greater than 0 will never be its lower bound for this set. So this is, and this is the reason that why all x less than equal to 0 will be its lower bound, and among all these lower bound, the largest one is 0. So one can, so this is the logic. This is the reason why Archimedean property of real numbers is very important. So let me write a statement of Archimedean property of real numbers. How to show that there always exists some n naught belonging to n, such that all this property holds. So let me rub this. So Archimedean property of real numbers, I am going to recall the statement here. Archimedean property of real numbers. So Archimedean, actually this one is the corollary of this Archimedean property of real numbers, but it will be used at several places, I mean several proofs, and using and in several examples, Archimedean property of real numbers. So its statement is very important, that for any given epsilon greater than 0, there exists m belonging to n, such that 1 by n is less than epsilon for every n greater than equal to m. I mean, however is epsilon greater, a small epsilon b, either it should be strictly greater than 0. So whenever any epsilon greater than 0 is given to us, one can always find some m naught. Let me denote it by m naught. One can always find at least one m naught, such that after for all n greater than equal to that m naught, 1 by n will be always less than epsilon. So how many choices we have for n? Infinite. We have infinite choice for this m. So this is the where now question is how to find that this m naught. So this m naught is basically scaling function of 1 by epsilon, scaling function just to make it integer. So for example, scaling function of minus 1.3 is minus 1.3 lies in between minus 1.3 lies in between minus 2 and minus 1. So its ceiling is the least integer just greater than this minus 1.3. So by definition it will be equal to minus 1. Similarly 1.2, ceiling of this 1.2 will be 2. Now for example let us take the value of some epsilon, 3 epsilon greater than 0, then a has to be 0, then a has to be 0. So this is basically theorem 2.1.9 mentioned in your book. If a is any real number such that 0 is less than equal to a is less than epsilon, for every epsilon greater than 0, then a has to be 0. In fact, I will do it by two different methods. One method is that to show a equal to b, to show that two real numbers are equal, one can also say using epsilon method that for every epsilon greater than 0, if mod of a minus b, if mod of a minus b is less than epsilon, this implies a is equal to b. So to show that a is equal to b, one can always use this argument that if for every epsilon greater than 0, mod of a minus b is less than epsilon, this implies that a is equal to b. Why this is so? See, this one is absolute value. It can never be negative. So if mod of a minus b has to be less than epsilon for every epsilon greater than 0, so the only possibilities for this mod a minus b is that a minus b is equal to 0. Otherwise, it will never be less than every epsilon greater than 0. So this is the reason why a is equal to b. So actually this statement is particular case of this one, and one can also prove this by contradiction. So just look at the page number 28 given in your book. Let me write its statement, then I will explain you with a very simple logic. It's given in your book that how to show that if there is a real number a which satisfies this condition that a is greater than equal to 0 and less than every epsilon positive, then a will be 0. So for this, let me first write this, its proof, and then I will explain you. So suppose to the contrary, that a is greater than 0, then if we take epsilon naught is equal to a by 2, so since a is greater than 0, so we have epsilon naught also greater than 0, but we have this 0 is less than epsilon naught less than a. Actually this epsilon naught is your a by 2, so obviously a by 2 will be less than a because a is greater than 0. We have assumed that a is greater than 0. But it is going to violate your own assumption. Why? Because we have assumed that this real number is such that a is less than every epsilon, and here a is greater than epsilon. So this is going to violate our own assumption that for every epsilon greater than 0, a is less than epsilon. So this is the reason why that this assumption that a is greater than 0 is not true. So let me write here that therefore it is false. Therefore it is false that a is less than epsilon for every epsilon greater than 0. And from here we conclude that a has to be 0. So this is also one of the method, very simple proof, that what we will do, suppose in place of a equal to 0, suppose let a is strictly greater than 0. So if a is strictly greater than 0, then obviously a by 2 will be greater than 0. And let me call this one as epsilon naught. Since a is a real number, so again a by 2 will be a number greater than 0. So what, obviously a by 2 will be less than a, and this is your epsilon naught. So here a is greater than epsilon naught, but what we have assumed that a should be less than every epsilon greater than 0. So this is the reason that under this construction, under this assumption, whenever a is greater than 0, one can always do this construction, and from here we have that a is greater than epsilon naught, whereas we have assumed that a should be always less than every epsilon greater than 0. So it is going to violate our own assumption. This is the reason that a greater than 0 is not possible. So a has to be 0. A has to be 0. Now using this one can also argue, using this one can also prove that infimum of this set 1 by n is 0. That is given on page number 48, 42 or 48 in your book. So students, I will advise you to revise this concept. Yes, on page number 2.4.4, let me rewrite the statement and in short I will discuss what is given in your book here using this result. So it's a 2.4.4 corollary. Statement is that if S is equal to 1 by n, where n belongs to n, then infimum of this set S is 0. So in this proof, as per your book, it has been mentioned that this already the concept already I have explained. But let me, you can also, using this statement, one can also argue that its infimum is 0. So let me write the statement of this one. Let me write first proof, then I will again explain you. Since S is non-empty, clearly this set is non-empty and is bounded below as well as above all real numbers, including 1 and greater than 1 are its upper bound, and it's also bounded below by 0. It has an infimum and let W is equal to infimum of the set S. So it is clear that W is greater than equal to 0. Because why it is W is greater than equal to 0? Because infimum is greatest among all lower bounds. So if it's one of the lower bound is 0 and all are and all other bounds will be either less than 0. So among, and if there is any other bound which is greater than 0, then obviously the greatest one is either 0 or greater than equal to 0. Now from here we will discard that any number, any real number greater than 0, strictly greater than 0, will never be its lower bound. So that is given in your book. How to discard that? Again, they are claiming from Archimedean property of real number that for any epsilon greater than 0, the Archimedean property of real numbers, the Archimedean property implies that there exists n belonging to n such that 1 by n is less than epsilon. Same logic which I have just explained you. Therefore we must have this 0 is less than equal to W is less than strictly 0 is less than equal to W is less than equal to 1 by n is less than epsilon. Why this we are claiming? Because among all lower bounds, see if W is the lower bound, if this W is the greatest among all lower bound, but the property for lower bound, it should be less than every member of the set. Either it can at most equal to 1 by n type members, or it should be strictly less than this 1 by n. So this is the reason why we have less than equal to here. So just compare it with this one. This is your 0. Just this, assume that this one is your A and strictly less than, and A less than epsilon. A is say W. This, assume it is A. So whenever this holds for every epsilon greater than 0, then using this one can argue that A has to be 0. So from here W has to be 0. This implies that W is equal to 0. This is what written in your book on this page number. So one can argue that, but since epsilon greater than 0 is arbitrary, it follows from this that W is equal to 0. Since epsilon greater than 0 is arbitrary, so this implies that W is equal to 0. So this is a very basic fundamental concept, but very important, because once you understand this one, when I will start discussing the concept of limit points and and all these Bolzano-Weierstrass's theorem, which guarantees you existence of this limit point, so all these things will be used there. So there is a difference between infimum, supremum, and later on in case of sequence we will study limit superior and limit inferior, and I will tell you the difference. Now after this I am going to start the point set topology. In point set topology I will start from this one, neighborhood of a neighborhood of a point, how to find neighborhood of a point, interior, what we mean by interior of a set, how to check whether a given set is open, closed, or both, or neither open nor closed. So all this I will discuss one by one in my next lecture.